Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this fifth event in our 2021 Seed Series. My name is Mike Long. I'm a member of the Sustainable Essex Committee. And before we go any farther, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the generosity of all of the Sustainable Essex Environmental Discussion Series donors, especially our harvest level donors. And I also wanted to acknowledge the support of the Sustainable Connecticut Community Match Fund. You know, the financial support provided by everyone in our community and the matching fund has really been crucial to our ability to deliver important programming to Essex and really the entire lower River Valley area. So we really deeply appreciate that. Couple of logistical things before we begin. We are recording this session and we request that everyone remain on mute throughout the presentations. This will help with any background noise. During the presentation, if you have any questions, you can post those via chat. You can access the chat button on the bottom of your Zoom window. And then we'll make sure that we leave time at the end of this session to take any questions that you might have. After the conclusion of today's event, I'm going to be sending all of you who have registered a resource sheet that includes a link to the recorded presentation, as well as links to additional resources that you're going to find helpful, particularly if you're looking forward to participating in this event that we're going to talk about today. So we are really proud and really excited to introduce you to a really wonderful event that's going to take place on Saturday, October 2nd. That's called the Essex Three Villages River Cleanup Event. And I do want to stress that this is the first of what will be many communications about this cleanup event. So we're kind of kicking it off today, but stay tuned for a lot more communication about this. To accomplish something, you know, as significant as this type of an event, you really need to have great teamwork. And we are really honored to be part of a really great partnership. Sustainable Essex has been fortunate to work very closely with the Connecticut River Conservancy and members of the Essex Land Trust. They've been great. This team has worked really, really hard. And I wanted to introduce that team to you for a moment. Allison and James join us from the Essex Land Trust. Stacy and Kelsey are joining us from the Connecticut River Conservancy. And I'm joined by Tanya and Maddie, who are also members of the Sustainable Essex Committee. And as I mentioned, this group has met very frequently. We work really hard. We've got more work to do, and we're always going to be interested in your feedback or suggestions. And one of the things that you'll be able to do is reach us through the Sustainable Essex website or some other websites. And again, we'll provide links to those resources in the resource sheet that we'll send after this session. So let's begin with why we're doing this. What's the big deal? I recently had an appointment with my eye doctor, and I think all of you know the drill. The doctor will put that thing in front of your face and he asks or she asks, is it better this way or is it better this way? And that question really comes down to our values. Do we value what's in this picture? Is it better this way? Or do we want to preserve and protect one of our assets that our town values the most? So is it better this way? And if we love and value the rivers that help define the town of Essex, then we really need to be vigilant and proactive. And that might mean that we begin with some questions. So questions like, what do we want to leave for our kids? What legacy do we want to help our kids pass on to their kids? What are we willing to let pass downstream to our friends and neighbors? You know, there's a quote that's been attributed to many people. I'm not sure who originally made this statement, but the statement is, we all live downstream. And that's really so true. We're all interconnected, and how we manage our responsibilities upstream impacts what we pass on downstream. So we need to be good stewards of the watershed that's within our area. And I think another question is, what do our rivers mean to each of us as individuals? We were really pleased to have Chester artist Kate Hare with us back on July 29th for one of our prior seed sessions. And she spoke very eloquently about how the Connecticut River really was an inspiration for her art. But she also talked about what it meant to her just in different ways. And she had a quote that I really kind of resonated with me. She said, "The sunsets and sunrises on the river lead me to think about the importance of moments for pause, for breaks from the information overload of modern times, for an opportunity to daydream." And that really resonated with me. And really, our rivers are respites from the stress of daily life. So they're so important to us on so many different levels. And it's important that we protect and cherish these waterways. So let's kind of get into it. What's the plan? So this is going to be a town-wide cleanup event. It's going to take place on Saturday, October 2nd from 8:30 to 2. We will stress that it's going to occur rain or shine. However, if the Weather Service is forecasting severe weather, we will definitely reschedule. We don't want to put anyone in jeopardy with this. But if it's a little rainy out, we'll pull on our boots, put on our rain slickers, and we'll get to it. The event is going to focus on public lands and watershed areas that are located within the three villages of Essex. And primarily that's the Connecticut and Falls rivers and their tributaries. It will involve public land that's adjacent to areas managed by the Essex Land Trust. And there's going to be a central check-in site that's going to be located in the parking lot of the Essex Fire Station, and that's on Saybrook Road in Essex. I wanted to show you a map of what I mean by watersheds. This might be a little hard to see. I wish I had been able to blow this up a little bit larger, but you'll see where we've got some areas defined in red, and they're labeled A, B, C, D, etc. Those are the areas that will focus on. The areas that are shaded in dark green are Essex Land Trust properties, and the Land Trust has stewards that regularly monitor and clean those areas, and they do a great job with that. So, we're going to be focusing on other areas that aren't getting quite that same level of attention. And as you can see, and I don't know if you can see my cursor, but kind of working from Great Meadow down through Centerbrook, down into Ivoryton, the Falls River really, extends through both Centerbrook and the Ivoryton villages. And that Falls River is just as important a watershed and a tributary, really, as parts of the Connecticut are. And the Falls River has had as much a part of defining the character of Essex and Centerbrook and Essex Village as the Connecticut River has. So we want to make sure that we're not focusing just on the Connecticut River, but all of our important tributaries within our town. So what's the day going to look like? And again, this is a short presentation today that'll give you kind of like a high level view, and then we'll make sure that we're providing far more detail and information for you as we move closer and closer to that October date rather. So on the day of the event, volunteers will check in at the back lot of the Essex Firehouse, and they'll be directed to specific sites within the town. There'll be sites within that map area that I displayed a moment ago, and they'll be provided with supplies to assist them with removing trash. Now, parking for volunteers is going to be available at the adjacent commuter parking lot, so it's pretty centralized, and it's pretty convenient. The firehouse lot is only going to be used as a gathering place for volunteers and for the trash delivery, the trash that's delivered back by volunteers to that central site. And we want to keep that parking lot free so that everyone is safe. The trash is going to be collected by the volunteers and put into two sets of bags. There'll be bags that you're given for recyclables and bags that you can use for non-recyclables. And you'll get a lot of coaching and information about what truly is recyclable and what is not, again, as we move closer to that October date. The trash is then going to be tabulated by type. So for instance, plastic bags, tires, literally things like cigarette butts, etc. They'll be tabulated either by the volunteers or by the group. And there's going to be two ways in which we'll enable volunteers to tabulate. The first is a smartphone app called CleanSwell. It's a free app. You can use that to collect the data. It's very easy to use. I downloaded it myself a day or so, and believe me, if I can use it, anybody can use it. We're also going to provide a paper version of that same tally for those who don't want to use the smartphone app. And then when the volunteers return home, those of you using the paper app, you can then input your data into the Connecticut River Conservancy website. They have an online form. And again, links to all of these will be made available to you in the resources sheet and on an ongoing basis with additional communications. So once the work is done, once the individual volunteers and groups have completed the cleanup of their area, you can check back in at the Essex Firehouse. You can deliver your trash there. The CleanSwell and paper form data that's available from each volunteer or group is going to be tabulated by members of the planning team, and that's going to be made available in a concise form at a later date. There's a little bit of a data lag there. It takes us a little time to get the upload from everyone's CleanSwell applications or include in or summarize the data coming from the paper applications. So we'll make that available at a later date. But once you've dropped off your trash, we invite all our volunteers to stay for some refreshments and to celebrate the hard work that you've done. And then what we will do is schedule an event for a later date to present the final results. So we're going to want you to stay tuned for an email from Sustainable Essex for an announcement about that date. And again, all of this information, links, etc., will be made available for you. One of the really crucial parts of getting involved with this project is the registration process. So individuals and groups can sign up, and you're going to be assigned to specific areas. You're going to use the Connecticut River Conservancy website to complete your registration. And it's really two steps. The first is that all volunteers need to register on that website. You need to sign a waiver form. And volunteers should indicate that they're joining as a group and as a volunteer. You will receive a follow-up email with instructions for step 2. And step 2 really is involved with joining a registered group. And in this case, what you'll do is you'll search for and select Essex 3 Villages River Cleanup. You'll click join this group. That will create a contact with the group leader, and then you'll receive additional emails with additional instructions regarding how to proceed with that day. The registration website will be available shortly. It's not available quite yet on the Connecticut River Conservancy site, but the registration form will be available soon. And again, we'll send notification to everybody as soon as that is available. So next steps for you really is be on the lookout for email updates from Sustainable Essex, including when that registration website is going to be available, other information about the day. We're going to have links again for videos that will provide you more information. The River Conservancy does a great job with cleanup coffee hours that explain specific details of the cleanup process in a lot more detail. Very, very informative, and we're going to encourage you to check those out when you have a chance. And again, links will be provided to all of those. And again, this resources sheet will get out to everybody after this presentation, probably within a day or so. We've got to upload the presentation and work through a couple of those logistics, and then we'll get that out. So really, you know, in terms of this whole thing, it's a great opportunity for members of all of the 3 villages, all of our town, to get together, do some great work. It's hard work, but it's real fun, and you're really making a true impact. And we encourage everyone to participate where you can. It's really about cleaner water, safer riverbanks, happier wildlife, and we're really doing our part to manage upstream what we send downstream to our neighbors and friends. So as I mentioned, this was a short kind of introduction. Wanted to get the word out there. Let me check chat to see if there are any questions. Bear with me for a moment. Kelsey, I know that you're on. If you want to unmute and add any additional comments, that would be fine. And I'll wait to see if there are any additional chat messages coming up.
I don't have too much to add other than a big thank you to you, Mike. This was really comprehensive and great presentation. So thanks for putting the work in on it. And then just very briefly, I mentioned this, but part of the reason we focus so much on data collection is because it helps us to craft our policies. And so when we can submit data to the legislators and show them how much trash and what types of trash we're finding, this makes a really big difference at the state level. So that's sort of the reason we go after that. But yeah, thank you so much for putting this together.
You're very welcome. I'll just wait another couple of seconds or so to see if there are any other questions. Again, this was a real quick, was intended to be a real quick lunchtime kind of introduction. Again, check your inbox. Check out both the River Conservancy and Essex Land Trust and Sustainable Essex websites and Facebook pages. There'll be a lot of updates that will start to appear in that, and we'll get stuff directly out to all of you via email as soon as we can. Well, with that, I want to thank you all for joining us today. We're really looking forward to this cleanup event in October. Just as a plug for our next seed event, we're going to have an event that is scheduled for Wednesday, September 29th, also at 12 noon. That's going to cover some key information that everyone needs to know considering the purchase of an electric vehicle. I've been working with one of the members of our committee who's putting that together. She's doing a tremendous job. That's going to be a really, really informative, quick 60 minutes of information. And you're going to want to make sure that if you're considering the purchase of an electric vehicle, you're going to want to make sure you're watching that. So we'll be, just be on the lookout on your inboxes and our website and our Facebook page for information regarding that next session. And I don't see any other questions or comments that were coming from chat. So once again, thanks for joining us. Kelsey, thank you for all that the great work you've done in the background. It's really, you folks have done a tremendous job with this, not only here in Connecticut, but really literally from the source in the New Hampshire lakes, all the way down to Old Saybrook to the mouth of the river. So River Conservancy has done just a phenomenal job setting these types of events up in a variety of places. So Kelsey, we really appreciate your input. And I might add that Kelsey is the river steward, if I have that term right, Kelsey, for the Connecticut River, for our area of the Connecticut River. So Kelsey's in this area a lot, has worked very closely with a number of communities, and she's been just a wonderful partner and asset. So we're lucky to have her. So if there's no other comments, we appreciate you being part of this. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll stay tuned, and we'll see you real soon with the additional information. Thanks.